Hello and welcome to the Sceptical Scotsman. Uh, it's me, the Sceptical Scotsman. I don't know how else to put that one. Today was different. Um, uh, I went to the No Kings protest, and it was bigger than last time. Um, Unarguably, the sad part for me is that it seemed to be a gathering place for people who had nothing else to do as opposed to people who were actually standing up against Donald Trump. I mean, yes, there were signs, people were yelling, all that kind of thing. I get it. But at the same time, I'm like, some of these people don't need to be here. Like, there was a guy who was holding up a sign and he was shooting through the crowd, not as in like pew pew shooting. We're talking like walking through as fast as possible. He almost knocked over one really old lady in a wheelchair. Everybody respectfully moved. He was almost toppling it over to get by her. And I'm getting reminders about Gemini and Google Chrome. Now that's out of the way. But it really does disturb me that some people are like, well, no, I got to get here. You can wait. Like, there are some people, I was behind certain people for 10 minutes waiting to cross the street because everybody wanted to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. Just like, yeah, no. Now, I know some of you wanted to attend. I know some of you did attend. I don't know who of you attended. I don't care which one of you attended. You did or did not. That's none of my concern. What was really funny is, and this is not substantiated, I didn't catch it on a recording, but I heard one cop here, because the cops really weren't doing anything except keeping the peace and keeping traffic flowing. But there was one cop who made a comment about the protesters and how he'd like to just shut them all the hell up. That way we could live peacefully. It's like, okay, you need to get rid of the good old boy mentality and do your fucking job to serve and protect. I get there are cars there and there are people who are being very liberal with their crossing of the streets. I get that. It's frustrating. And yes, there are a couple people I'd like to fucking greet with an elbow because they were going, I think they went too far with their liberalistic opinion. It's like, well, you need to hear and see me, nobody else. It's like there are thousands of people there. And one guy who was another zipper who was trying to fly through the crowd, I was putting my phone up, and apparently he was trying to duck under somebody's sign and ran straight into my elbow at flank speed. And he got kind of pissy with me, and I straight up looked at him, and I had to shout for him to hear, you shouldn't be trying to run through this crowd. Because somebody like me, who's made of near concrete, will fuck you up, and we're not even trying to touch you. Well, I don't care what you were doing, slow down. Because if I got to raise my arm again to stop you, it will happen, and you will do a flip and stop. And then when the cop comes to check it out, I'm gonna tell him you ran into my arm as I was lifting it up, like innocent. I'm trying to do this, and you hit it, and not my problem. Now, then there was the I'm not sure who this person is, and I didn't take a picture on purpose, but there was this person. Don't know male, female, none of that crap. They were almost 4 foot wide and trying to walk around with a sign with a third of the butt cheeks, the top of the butt cheeks hanging out. And the only thing I could say to myself was, you're expecting to walk through this crowd when you take up literally half of the sidewalk, like wide. Profile, it takes up like 1, 2 people, but the normal silhouette, that's like 3 or 4 people right there. I'm not trying to fat shame. I'm just like, how you expect to get through this crowd? How? Okay. True Crime Unleashed says was somebody at the wedding I talked to, and they said they didn't understand the No King's president. He's our president, and we need to respect him. And this person was a National Guard dude. I don't even. I'm not buying that crap. That literally sounds made up. Your little hacienda story there sounds completely made up. Oh, I gotta take off the readers because the computer screen is just far enough away where I have to use my long distance glasses. I mean, the end of my fingertip is as far as I'm supposed to see with these. These allow me to see everything from this far, from right here out. But these are close vision lenses. So yeah. Now, another particular part that I was kind of irked by. Your wife was a witness. She was standing by me when I was talking to him. Okay, lovely choppy sentence, but anyway, um, the only other issue I had was parking. Everywhere within 3 fucking blocks of downtown, like even close to Douglas, is paid parking everywhere, and it's not like it's 50 cents or it's a dime. It's you have to pay $2. You have to pay $1 or two, and the parking garages were more like $5. And I'm like, I'm not paying for parking, so I went over to a spot or two that I know of, and because I had new walking shoes, I used those. I got where I was going incredibly fast. Let's see what we have here. Yeah, I know. I'm being weird while I'm live. But guess what? Ugh. Oh, okay. Sorry, I had to text a sibling, and I only let my siblings know because they might want to hear my opinion, even though I have a sibling who is deaf or deathly quiet. Not deaf, deathly, meaning not talking a lot. I'm thinking it's because of assuages behind what we can see. And the youngest of of us 4 siblings, is a sponge. He reflects any attitude he's with. You throw an attitude with him, but he doesn't have a whole lot of personality of his own. But yeah, let me get back to this shit. But yeah, two of us are outspoken, and like I pointed out before, I've been doing this for years, like since 2018, and that's when I started doing YouTube videos. Before I started my own channel back in like 2017, I think I was doing exclusively for Anchor. Before that, it was the show I did with Robert. We did that show for, I want to say, a year or two, and that went the way of the dodo. And I'm waiting for people to reply here. But it seems strange to me that the other one of my siblings, who's so deathly quiet, remains so, even though they're bragging about being a parent and a grandparent and making my mother a great grandmother, um, even though the great grandchild was conceived while the grandchild was still in school, still in high school. So, yeah, not that great a look. Um, but that's a whole different fucking ball of wax there. Um, what's really interesting, in case you didn't know, is that Trump and Mike Johnson were calling this the anti-American protest, all these other names. And Bob was telling me all this crap that he heard Trump saying on God knows what news media outlets because he pays attention to that and I do not. But the news outlets were airing Trump saying that anybody who goes to these no king protests will be labeled as Antifa and domestic terrorists, blah, 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 blah. And they, the Sedition Act or the Insurrection Act can be used against them. And here's what's so stupid about that. Number one, the Insurrection Act can only be used in violent uprisings and protests of authority or power. The No Kings protests, both of them that have happened here, were fucking peaceful. In case you don't know the definition of that, there was no violence taken. If there were any arrests, there weren't any of huge note. Now, what makes this all so funny is the fact that Trump is saying that we're violent insurrectionists. No, we're not the assholes who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. That was your fucking people, not mine. All the people, like the Insurrection Act, cannot be enacted if a crowd is protesting peacefully. You can't write them down for any fucking crime. Can you write a few tickets for impeding traffic in a busy area? Yeah, but our law enforcement officers here were trying to prevent from doing it. Can they legally do that? Yes, they can. But they understood we're passionate here about it. What disturbed me about it was how many middle class, upper crust white people were sitting there throwing up signs, and I was truly shocked by all the boomers that showed up. It's like, what, now y'all show the fuck up? Y'all weren't there for the first term. Y'all didn't show up for the first No Kings protest. Now all of a sudden you're fucking interested? Oh, why? Because we're right? And I heard a lot of people talking about, well, this should have been done sooner. Nobody was talking. I literally told one lady that the difference between her, everybody else, and me was that I actually predicted this happening. I predicted American unrest. I predicted all this crap going on right now. And when I hear all these people, well, nobody predicted this would happen. Yes, we did. There are several of us who predicted that this would happen and everything that's happened before. Were we hoping it wouldn't? Fuck yeah. We'll fully admit. All of us who predicted this shit knew that something was going to happen. Apparently, everybody dropped out for a second. I'm not sure why. Maybe internet connection. Maybe who knows. I'm still alive. But yeah. Um, but those of us who predicted this stuff a while back before Trump ever even made it in the White House, yes, we were hoping for a kinder, gentler man. That disappeared when his ear got shot, and then he had to sit through the RNC glorifying him like a fucking a little golden statue. And any semblance of humanity he had completely got erased by 3 or 4 days of him being glowered and fawned over. Stephen Miller thinks they should use the Insurrection Act to get around federal judges. They can't. Anybody listening to this, hearing this, Steve Miller thinks that they could use the Insurrection Act to get around federal judges. They cannot do that. The legal definition and the statute, the constitutional definition of an insurrection is a violent uprising, not a fast moving or loud spoken or very energetic one. Do what the January 6th rioters did, and I guarantee you they'll have room for insurrection. But the Republicans do not see it that way because it's their people on the chopping block, not the rest of America. That's why when I see people commenting on stuff like that, they're like, well, 70 million people voted for him. You realize that's not even close to the actual total number of people who voted. And yes, I think anybody who said, well, I couldn't vote for Kamala because I didn't know, you're full of shit. You're making excuses. You don't get to make excuses anymore. You need to be an adult, make some adult choices, and fucking stick with it. Now, as far as all the people who seem to show up to be vain and be in front of a camera, I don't know how many cameras I got recorded by on video or via picture because I just don't know. I didn't pay attention to that. My intention was to observe. I took pictures, and it was so fucking loud at that rally or at that protest that you could hear it a block and a half down the normal street. If you're in an alley, you can hear it from 2 full blocks away. That is how loud it was. Like, I am shocked that I didn't have ringing in my ears afterwards because it was that loud. Now, I realized Trump made threats about people that were going to the protests and everything like that. Apparently, according to Bob, they even said they would send out National Guard troops to every single one. It's like, no. Here in Kansas alone, we had 13 separate fucking protests. So you're going to tell me that your troops came by and took pictures of every single person there and took their names? Bullshit. Trump's making an idle threat because he doesn't want to lose whatever grip he has on his base. And what's interesting is I saw thousands, not hundreds, thousands of people today in downtown Wichita, Kansas, because that's where the protest was held. You didn't have a whole lot of people who were Trump supporters there. I found them online afterwards. Afterwards, I went and checked, and you've got all these Republican keyboard warriors. Well, no kings. We ain't had a king since this day in history. Motherfucker, yes, you do. You have a guy who's trying to become king. If you can't fucking think for yourself and figure that out, you truly are stupid. I mean, yeah. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine. The difference is my opinions are normally on the right side of history and the law. and saying that we haven't had a king since the Boston Tea Party. When a man is telling us that he can take away our free speech, and that anybody speaking ill of him can be arrested, and it should be illegal to speak negatively about him and his administration, that is trying to convince yourself that you're part of a monarchy. You're trying to be the king and be the only power above all. Just like Stephen Miller's comment about being about having what is it, plenary authority or plenary power over things. No, that's not what the president does. My thoughts on the Republicans labeling the No King protest, I'm guessing that's what you meant, as an American and as anti-American and hate rallies. It's not anti-American to protest peacefully. It's not something the cops can arrest you for. It's not something the National Guard troops can arrest you for. So why would I have thoughts on that if it's not illegal? Hello, Beavis. Okay, now we've got a full quartet of weirdness here. But yeah, I really do think this is my own personal opinion, mind you, right here. I think that our city council should have showed up and showed support for the citizenry, their constituency, so to speak, in force, and been like, okay, we're here. We're here to see what you're doing. We're here to see your reaction. We're here to see how the police are responding. That's their fucking job. I would have loved to have seen that. I think somebody was trying to hand out political stuff. Leslie would know better than me. She was standing in one spot against the gate, and I was walking around. Which reminds me. Oh, hold on. Well, the ones that were running around for election or re-election actually did show up, and they should have been. They should have been in like a slowly roving pod of people walking around. I didn't see one candidate that I could clearly recognize. You were standing next to Mr. Shepard. He's running for district in Wichita, but I don't know which one. Well, let's look that shit up right now. Okay. Looking it up. Joseph Shepard. Okay, so some random black guy I wouldn't see at all. Or I wouldn't notice at all because there were blacks there, but not a whole lot that I could see of. Maybe I was on the wrong side of the street. I didn't go to the north side of Douglas. But I walked the south side for a little bit, but I saw some short white lady doing some. I'm aware he may have signs, a few signs up around the city. And by the way, my darling female, weren't you supposed to be running? Weren't you trying to run for city council? I realize there may be a 45-second delay. That's why I'm giving the extra time. Because I don't know what the lag time is on the video, because I haven't heard from my wife, who may or may not be watching. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. I didn't really have any choice. Let's see. Can the mic pick this up? Don't know. Somebody have to tell me if that got picked up. I don't know if he's a Republican or not, but you can ask Leslie on that one. I was on the south side too. I didn't go up to the north side. I seen at least 5 black people walk past me, and as I was walking back towards my car, I seen more. So yeah, I seen quite a few black people. I'm not looking for ethnicity when I'm walking through those crowds. Like when I left, I was trying to get the fuck away from everybody, because me in large crowds, there's PTSD issue. I'm going to post this on here. True crime. We're talking about the side of the street on Douglas. Dumbass. I'm your sister, but yes, I applied for city council, but I was late apparently. They no longer accept applications for July, so I'm late, so I have to wait till 2027, but I have applied. That might be true. Like, I'm not saying it's false. Robert, we live on the south side. We're not talking the south side of the city. We're talking on the south side of the street, where the No Kings protest happened. It was on Douglas. So you're either on the north side or the south side. I hope you hear that and figure that one out. Okay. I gotta switch to readers. This is really tiny ass writing from back here. Yeah, I know. I'm getting old. Fuck off. I'm good. Okay. I have to comment using the speech to text because I'm driving and I don't want to get in an accident. So whenever I make a comment, it's usually paused at where you made a statement at. And so yeah, that's fine. We're all good. Hello, Rainbow Threads, Quizzy Koalas. Thank you for watching. Um, yeah. What the funniest thing I saw now at this protest is some chick who still had acne breaking out, but she was wearing this handkerchief tube top thing with a very heavily padded bra underneath it to apparently hide her boobs. And she's walking with her, what I assume is her 5 or 6 year old son or little brother, walking directly in front of her while she's holding a sign. I was trying a low growl to hear and to see if it would come through the headset microphone. Literally, that's it. I just wanted to see if it was coming through. I tried it earlier before I entered studio. Literally, I was trying to see if it would register. It didn't. But I don't know what you guys hear. That's why I was trying to see if you guys could hear it or not. Thank you for letting. I still can't tell whether you heard it or not, but thank you for acknowledging that I was trying. Because apparently, you probably hear that with me tapping on the headset. But I tried it a few days ago, and even when I had nothing going on and tried it on my headset wasn't picking up the low growl. I had to turn the Bluetooth off and growl into my phone with the audio recorder to pick it up. Okay. Leslie has an interesting homage. Yeah, actually, I called downtown and sent him an email asking about it, and they sent me an email back saying it was too late to apply for the city council this time, but I could reapply. Okay, good job. True crime. The north side of Douglas would be if you're turning down Main or Broadway to go towards the courthouse. Like I said to him a few minutes ago, we're talking about the south side of the street, not the south side of the city. Technically, and I mean we're splitting fucking hairs here. When you're talking about the south side Douglas is the delineation mark. Technically, yes, if you're standing on the south side of Douglas, you're standing on the south side of town, because that's the borderline. If you're standing on the north part of Douglas, that is the north side of town. And if you're standing in, what is it? I want to say it's Main and Douglas. If you're standing there, you're standing directly anywhere in that intersection is the middle of the damn city, if I remember correctly. But yeah, True Crime Unleashed. I kind of hope Ty Masterson doesn't get elected governor, because he stated in a recent interview he wants to align Kansas with Donald Trump's agenda. Well, that depends on all of you. I already know how I'm not voting for Ty Masterson. Period. The end. He's told enough bullshit lies to piss off a gravy train and a buffalo who's trying to impregnate a hippo. I can hear you crystal clear, just like any other time. But the problem is, did you hear the growl? That's what I want to know. Did you hear the growl? Because I growled just to see if it would pick it up and you guys would hear it. And nobody's told me yes or no on that. So, or should I go? I know this darkens my face, which was the effect. I know I look more shaded like this, but that was kind of the purpose, is to draw more attention. Now, do we need to get out? Do we need to have more people registered to vote? Absolutely. Do we need to have more people who are registered to vote actually voting? Fuck yes. The problem is there's enough naysayers out there. Well, your vote doesn't count, or you're not going to win because you're not a Republican. This state panders to Republicans a little too fucking heavily, in my opinion. Do I think Governor Laura Kelly is a perfect governor? Not by a long shot. Is she better than, say, Brownback? Fuck yes. That guy is a fucking walking penis wrinkle. He almost decimated the entire state's economy, which is why when he left, he had this report saying we had plenty of money in the coffers and all this shit. Then he left and all that money gone. But the Koch brothers weren't suffering, because the Koch brothers had that money funneled from his campaign, all the money from the state that we lost, directly to their accounts. And yes, it's on record as being like that. The Young Turks covered that on YouTube years ago. Okay. Leslie put, yeah, I know, but I can't hear what you say when I'm doing speech to text. So if I hear somebody asking a question or you make a comment, then I do it. I end up catching it after. I end up catching up after. That's fine. You're listening? That's good enough for me. You're paying attention. That's good enough for me. Oh, here's it. Yeah, but some people don't know the difference between north and south. And this is, if you have problems with directions and following maps and finding certain things, that's dysgraphia. Much like my dyscalculia, which is the inability to process numbers in certain quantities. Dysgraphia means you can't pick out landmarks. You get lost easily. You can't follow a map because it all looks like gibberish to you. Much like dyslexia, like our mother has, things jumble up. And there is a solution to my mother's dyslexia, but I'm not sure if she's willing to try it. And if you are suffering from dyslexia like that, I would recommend getting ruby red sunglasses. Okay. Leslie put, yeah, well, technically we have a Republican that dominates Kansas anyway, because if she says something, it goes. It doesn't matter what Democrats do, and that somebody is with the last name of Koch. I don't. And Koch is spelled Koch, in case you didn't know. The Koch family, not Coca-Cola, Koch, Koch. I know I just spelled that wrong myself. If you growled, it was while I was making the statement, so I wouldn't have heard. Okay. Would y'all like to hear me attempt to growl again, just see if you can hear it? Okay. I haven't gotten any response yet, but I think there's like a full minute of lag time. Yay, you're finally home. Okay, here we go. Ran out of breath on that one. Going low takes a lot of wind because it's slower vibrations. Like instead of when you go up, it's faster. Like really, 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 really fast. When you're going low, it's much slower. I don't know who didn't know that, but no, my audience does. Wunderbar, huh? Let's see here. Yeah, try to keep this thing going tonight because I'm going for an hour and I still have 20 minutes left. Yeah, Koch. The Koch brothers pretty much inherited Kansas from Bob Dole because Bob Dole got it before Bob Dole had it before the Koch brothers did. Actually, the Koch brothers didn't get it from Dole. They weren't the Koch brothers and the Koch family isn't the same as Bob Dole. Yes, I've actually done some research on that. They are almost in no way connected. Despite what you may have heard, I actually had to do some digging on that a few years ago in a audio podcast only. and they're really not too well linked to each other. Bob Dole was fighting for Kansas and Kansans back when the Koch brothers were still trying to get up on a pedestal when they were the biggest company here, but they still weren't the shit. Okay, true crime unleashed. Your thoughts on J.B. Pritzker's warnings that Trump could actually come during the election machines in 2026 and 2028 by using the National Guard. Okay. Read what you just wrote. Read the whole thing and then tell me how that made a fucking bit of sense, Robert. You tell me how that makes sense. Okay? We'll address it here in a few minutes when you finally catch up with me. Apparently, there's lag time. But I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the lag time so I can give you guys enough lag time for response. Okay. Thumbs up from Rainbow Threads Quizzy Koalas. I don't know what that means right now, but you can explain what the thumbs up is for. Leslie, I don't know how Coke. I know how Coke is spelled, but because I'm using speech to text, it doesn't know it. I get that. I'm not calling you a dumbass at all. Like text to speech would write that as COKE. I get that. Okay, that's all the explanation you needed. But true crime, you need to explain what the hell that long statement was about J.B. Pritzker and voting machines and the election. Because as you wrote it, like, here's the text. Bam. That as it is written, without punctuation or anything, I can't tell what the fuck you're talking about. Yes, context helps in this kind of a podcast. Oh, you heard my growl. Whoa. Anybody else? I think that growl was 2 minutes ago. I'm going to put my headset down for just a second. The screen will be probably all fuzzy for a good minute. I'm doing this as an experiment. I'm checking something. So I'll be right back. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Apparently, I'm 2.5 minutes lag time from me saying it to you hearing it. I didn't know that. I went to go check wife's phone to see what was going on. That's apparently the discrepancy. So, yeah, I'm hearing it. You guys are responding to crap I said 2.5 minutes ago, and I've already moved on with the subject most of the time. Okay. Leslie puts, sorry, got interrupted, but if I don't comment for a little bit, it's because I'm unloading stuff from my car. I'm listening. I'm just not going to respond for a little bit. Well, we weren't expecting you to fucking engage every goddamn minute. Come on, you old damn woman. Get the mud out of your butt. And true crime, text-to-speech was messing up. Right. That or you just trying to talk to those 4 teeth you have at the bottom. Yes, I'm going to give you shit. I've known you for a long time. If you can't take a good-natured rib, then fuck you. Anyway. Yeah. Let me take this down. I don't need to have that up all fucking night. But yeah, it's truly fantastic. The late night shows are starting to cover the same shit I've been talking about for a while. I will be off screen for just one moment, but I gotta turn the AC off because I'm getting cold. I don't like cold all that much. But people, the late night shows are catching on to certain things that the administration is doing, and the right-wing pundits are jumping on that shit like a frag grenade and throwing it up in the air, hoping for a confetti grenade. Not only Jamie Oliver, but several other late-night comedians and late-night talk show hosts are jumping on this not trend, but what they usually do. They parody. They make fun of. That's their fucking job. That's what they get paid to fucking do. Okay. Bob, your thoughts on J.B. Pritzker's warning that Trump could use the National Guard to commandeer the voting machines in 2026 and 2028, where he failed in 2020. Okay, define commandeering voting machines. Literally, you need to define that shit, because you're making statements that are so far separated. He can come in during the election. What are you saying by saying commandeer? I'll be back in like 30 seconds. Please enjoy the break. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Think of smooth jazz. Okay. God damn, this thing fits tight. Okay. See if I can stretch this damn thing anymore. Now, I know it's going to be a minute before any of y'all notice this, so I'm okay with that. I don't really care. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I decided to go for a hat change. Scotland, because I am more Scottish than anything else, literally. But, yeah, I bought this, a pirate hat at Ren Fair, and, yeah, it's nice to wear it sometimes. Okay. I'm waiting on any other donations from True Crime Unleashed, aka Robert. Now, if you're saying that he is going to have a National Guardsman right in the voting booth or right next to the voting booth, they cannot be in the voting booth. By law, You can't be in there with anybody unless they're there interpreting for you. Literally. Like, that's the law. An armed an armed officer of the United States Armed Forces cannot be in the booth with you. It's illegal as fuck. Doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what you heard. It's illegal and it will not be allowed. If he says it's to ensure election integrity, he's full of shit. It's a pressure tactic. It's a pressure tactic to get you to vote for him. Because I'll shoot. I'll make them shoot you. They cannot legally shoot you. And anybody who's in the armed forces should already know that if they follow you into there, then your vote that negates the vote. You have to go in there alone unless you have an interpreter, or in case you just happen to be barely mentally competent enough to vote. Just like my wife found out a few years ago when she went to go register to vote. She said, what party are you? I'm like, I'm unaffiliated, but I can't tell you to become unaffiliated. And the lady at the DMV is like, yeah, he can't tell you to vote that way. It's illegal. We can actually have him arrested. It's like, yeah, I can't tell you what to vote for. Now, before we get there, I can tell you to vote for or who's better for you and your well-being. But I can't tell you how to vote. Taking possession of them, how? And by the way, in case many of you haven't heard, or any of you haven't heard, apparently Dominion was bought out by somebody else, and apparently, word on the grapevine is that that person is a Republican Trump backer. Honest to God, with this online voting thing, I wish we went back to paper ballots, because then people can actually learn how to use them. I know how to use electronic and paper. I'm that old. I've been voting that long. I know how to fill out a paper ballot. Back when we didn't have the hanging chads. It was you fill in, boom. If you fucked up, you got another voting ballot. They deleted that one, and boom. But then again, I've been voting for a very long time. %. I'll have to figure out what that one means later. But yeah, as far as National Guard taking possession of them, yeah, you're like 2 minutes behind me, man. It's Captain Redbeard. I got something to show you. Yes, you can laugh at that. I give you permission. No biggie. Now, as for the National Guard trying to seize control of the voting ballot, it only happens when there's a violent physical altercation happening in voter booths. What does that mean? Glad you didn't ask. What that means is that unless you're in there with somebody and there's a violent confrontation, like a physical confrontation, they're not allowed to do shit. And usually there is a moving company, I'm not sure which one, but there's a moving company that loads up the voting box, that loads up the balloting machines and takes them. It's all done by a commercial moving company. The reason I know this is way back in the day when I was like 18 and I had already done voted. I was part of a moving team. I was part of a moving company that Beacons. They don't exist here anymore. When I was I was a temp worker on on their company roll for like 2 days, and all we did was pick up ballot boxes. We picked up the computers and hauled them into our truck, and then ran away. And we also went to the location I voted at and picked up the machines there. That is how I know it's left to moving companies, because they're the ones with the logistics to move them. You take them to a certain place, which I don't remember where it was, but you drop them all off there. And once they're all neatly, tidily put away, you get the fuck out. You're not allowed to do anything but grab them, haul them where they're supposed to be, make sure they're neatly stacked, and then leave. And yes, the hangar doors are wide open, but nobody's dumb enough in those security locations to try to get in. That's what happens when you have experience. You learn things like that. Just like when I learned that Starlink was the provider for the voting machines. They were using the Starlink system. And yeah. As soon as I learned that Starlink was the one in charge of the voting tally online, I lost faith in the integrity of the voting system as a whole. Does that mean I'm going to vote any differently? Fuck no. It was bought by a former Republican election official. Again, they're trying to emolument themselves and get themselves in favor with Trump. Now, admittedly, during the last election, I went for Kamala Harris because she was a breath of fresh air. Do I think that Biden stepped out too late? Absolutely. I would not have voted for Biden anyway. One term of him was enough. Another term of Trump is one too many, which is what we're going through now. One too many tries. And yes, they're trying to dismantle the 22nd Amendment so that Trump can run again, because he didn't get to run back to back. The problem is that he and Elon Musk have both openly stated that they rigged the election. They consorted against the American people to change the election results, which is why you saw certain places where Kamala Harris is winning go down in flames. And yes, Trump openly stated that Putin told him in a private conversation off camera, but it got recorded anyway, that Putin said mail-in ballots allow for corruption. Not in our system, they don't. You allow corruption because you allow them to lose ballots, dump entire ballot boxes so that you can win. That is corruption. Changing people's votes to something other than what they voted for is not constitutional. It's not legal. And it is highly toxic to the voting process. But the people who are pro-Trump are so fiercely pro-Trump, they will do anything to make sure that he wins. If they got to say that it's rigged for the Democrats, when's the last time a Democrat tried to rig an election? Like, honestly. I thought you were a distant relative of Captain Jack Sparrow. More like Barbossa. And if you know your history, Barbossa had a red beard. Yeah, weird shit you learn when you troll around. Leslie, if Trump is successful with that running for a third term, then Obama is going to go up against him. Absolutely. I think I said that on my last live. repealing the 22nd Amendment opens the doors for Obama and me. If they open the doors and Obama runs against Trump, yes, I will advocate for people to vote for Obama. He got us out of the Bush presidency, which was a train wreck right at the very end. And I think it would be a better choice for America. Do I think somebody else needs to run? Kamala Harris or Pete Buttigieg? Yes. Gavin Newsom? I'm kind of on the fence about him still, but I stand firmly right now behind Pete Buttigieg running in some capacity, either as president or vice president. I think America as a whole needs him now. He's common sense. He's a very calming presence. He's like the Undertaker of the political world. He knows how to communicate with those he needs to communicate to. When he's been on a debate stage, he doesn't have to raise his voice. He'll simply sit there and wait for them to get done belly aching about whatever, and then calmly but firmly talk about what the issues actually are. Kamala Harris, she seems a bit too screechy for me. I would still vote for her over Donald Trump, obviously. Would I vote for the female presidential candidate if it's the right one? Do I think that Kamala Harris is the right one right now? I don't know. Back when she ran hella late, I thought she was the best candidate in the race. Versus Trump, fuck yeah. Leslie put, yeah, that's why Trump hasn't gone all the way with that voter thingy running a third term, because he's trying to make it so that where he's the only one who can. Yes, and there is a small but very fiercely loyal contingent of Republicans trying to repeal the 22nd Amendment only for Trump. Only for Trump. They only want Trump on that ballot. They want us to have no other fucking choice but to vote for him. And if that ends up happening, number one, you'll have uprisings. Number two, the Supreme Court, every conservative on the Supreme Court will then, I think, have to be impeached, because if they rule in favor of Donald Trump, that means they are letting their political slant guide their actions, which is wrong, and it's unconstitutional. And Donald Trump being the only person you can vote for president isn't constitutional. Like, if they repeal that so that only Donald Trump can run again for a third term because he didn't get back-to-back stuff, it's like, okay, the problem is now you leave the door wide open for us to vote. And yes, at that point, I would vote for the Big McChicken. You didn't hear me wrong. If Trump is the only person on the ballot, I would love for everybody to write in the Big McChicken. Yes, and this is only my opinion, in my humble opinion, a fucking McDonald's sandwich would make a better president than our current president. I could be shut down by YouTube. I've already been on. They already tried to shut me down on TikTok. And by the way, I'm back on TikTok, but I only watch videos on TikTok. I will not post there because I will not have my freedom of speech and opinion infringed upon by any asshat trying to do anything about that. Leslie says there's an amendment going around to where if enough people sign it, they will actually go into the White House, put cuffs on Trump, and escort him out of the building, the White House. There are a lot of shit going around that's anti-Trump. Petitions, circulars, everything. Some people are trying to get him impeached under the 20-something amendment. I think it's the 25th Amendment. But let me check something real fast here. I could have swore it said there it was like the 14th Amendment or some crap that removes an entire presidential administration from holding office and removes them all. And this week has just been so busy. I think it's the 14th, but I'll leave you guys to look that up. Because yeah, it's a pain in the butt looking all this stuff up on live, no less. Ugh. But yeah, I mean, Robert, you said that Pritzker was saying that they're going to have National Guard troops commandeer voting machines. You still need to explain that. You have not said anything about what commandeering means. If you're talking about them being in the, if you're talking about them guarding the voting booths, they can only do that at the doors. They cannot do that at the actual little ballot box that you voted. They cannot be standing next to you on that. I think at best they're allowed to stand outside a voting booth, facing away from you, making sure they deter anybody from actually physically harming you. But that's only if a fight breaks out. So yeah. Wow. Has it already been an hour already? Fuck. Yes, this is why this podcast is not normally made for children. But if there's any children watching, please do your homework, do your research. Because I know I have like one follower who may or may not be underage, but I don't know. But if you're watching this and you're young, remember you heard it here first. If you go back in my backlog of videos and podcasts, you will find me saying these exact things. Okay, Bob popped up. Justice Amy Coney Barrett was on Fox peddling her new book and was asked about the Voting Rights Act, and she said, "Wait for the decision." The Supreme Court is trying to decide whether whether the Voting Rights Act is repealed. The Voting Rights Act means you cannot be denied the right to vote based on sex, orientation, race, gender, any of that crap. They want to repeal that because they only want white guys who are the head of household voting because they believe they have a better chance of winning on that. If the Supreme Court passes that, Oh, there's a good one. Thank you, Rainbow Threads. I will check that out. Give me a second. I will look that shit up right now. Now, see, that doesn't work either because that's still allowing the vice president to take power. That is basically the 25th Amendment, where he is, where Trump would be officially declared incompetent to hold office. What we're looking for is Trump, Vance, and his administration to be escorted out. And with the stuff that I've been hearing from all of you, plus what I've been hearing from news stories, if we see a blue tsunami, you may end up seeing uh, Trump being impeached and successfully. And just as an update, I just thought of this. I contacted Jasmine Crockett through Substack, and I've contacted her through pretty much everything but TikTok and X. She still has not answered my question how an illegitimate vote count was passed to redistrict Texas. I haven't heard one fucking word about it. Leslie says, I'll be doing my podcast here shortly. If you want, go watch her podcast. I encourage it to see what she has to say. I don't know what she talks about. I don't really go there, especially with a sibling. I listen to some of it and then I do other things. Do I say she needs a podcast? Her voice should be heard. It ought to be heard. Whether or not her opinions are validated publicly is a different story altogether. But I would say go check it out. I don't know the name of her podcast anymore because, yeah, my brain's just too cluttered with shit to do anything. Because today, unfortunately, I made the error of spending 2 hours trying to fix a problem that I should have only spent maybe 30 minutes fixing. So that's on me. Leslie says, yeah, well, it can't be soon enough for Trump to be removed. I will not disagree with you on that. But there is an upcoming effort by myself and somebody else to... I'm trying to think of the right word for it. I'm not the one who thought of the idea anyway. I was just there when it was conceived and everything, so I'm fully backing it as much as I can. But it's about getting participation certificates and everything that Trump has failed at doing, which is pretty much anything during his administration's reign at this point. Giving him participation trophies about everything he's failed to do. Like him trying to overthrow the U.S. government. Him committing insurrection, basically. A participation trophy. For him trying to win the Nobel Peace Prize, participation trophy. For him trying to usurp the United States Constitution to bend to his agenda and his will, participation certificate. Okay, Leslie says it's still called Leslie's opinion. Bob says, do you take possession or control of? What? You're making no sense. But then again, you're 2.5 minutes behind. But I have enough non-existent addresses, and I can think of names, and send Trump participation certificates, pontificating or announcing his participation in failed efforts. The originator of this idea had that stroke of genius right then. They wanted participation trophies. I mentioned participation certificates so that the certificates can read out what he's failed at doing. He merely participated in them, just like him participating in a meeting of the United Nations and then denouncing and calling all of them shitheads. But with that, I'm going to respectfully step the fuck down, get up my pulpit, and I may end up sharing this on Substack when it's done. What is that? What does that mean? Possession or control of? Taking possession or control of, like with the ballot boxes, depends on what you mean in context. If you are trying to take possession of the balloting voting computers, they're not supposed to have any information inside of them. You would have to be at the main balloting box, which you slip your paper into and it done. If you were going to control that, then that would be illegal. Anyway, this is the Sceptical Scotsman. Jesus, it's been that busy a day. And I want to say to all of you, stay thirsty, my friends, and vive la resistance. Viva la resistance. Or freedom!